Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in for NarraScope 2020 and my talk on Agatha Christie to Ryukishi07 Linear Whodunits as Games. My name is Dawn Davis, and I have no relationship with Ryukishi nor Agatha Christie. I am just a lifelong story lover and storyteller with a passion for video games. I will tell you at the end where you can find my work. Yeah. This is a pre-recorded talk because my internet is not particularly reliable and I didn't want to play with fate. Actually, while I'm recording this audio, my power has gone out of nowhere. So I think that this is validating my suspicions. Technical difficulties notwithstanding, I should be able to be around after the video for questions, either live on stream or in the NarraScope Discord. Please forgive any quality with the video problems. I have never put together a video like this before, at least not since my high school movie making class. So it's been a long time. Please forgive me. Anyway, so you can find me on Twitter at PlayerProfit if you have any questions during or after the talk. This talk will be mostly spoiler-free. I'll be discussing a lot about Umineko When They Cry, but in the case that viewers haven't read it and might be inclined to, I don't want to talk about any deep plot spoilers. I want people to read Umineko. I'll be discussing the mechanics of Umineko in detail in a narrative and interactive sense, which to some might count as spoilers, but I'm not interested in ruining any surprises or plot twists for anyone, and I encourage everyone in the chat to have the same respect. So, Umineko no Naku Koro Ni, literally when the seagulls cry, or localized as Umineko When They Cry by the manga gamer released on Steam, is a murder mystery visual novel by the indie developer Ryukishi07. The wealthy Ushiromiya family meet at their family home on the island of Rokenjima for an annual family conference. The patriarch has locked himself into his room, only willing to see his servants, while the children discuss their forthcoming inheritance, and his grandchildren wander the island and enjoy each other's company. The storm moves in on the island, stranding the family there for the weekend. Our hero, Butler Ushiromiya, has come to the conference for the first time after a 6-year absence. He finds a new addition to the household, a portrait of a woman and an epitaph made out to her, supposedly a riddle for the family to solve and earn the family inheritance, which is rumored to be a massive amount of solid gold. As night falls, the murders begin, all following the pattern of the message on the epitaph. Letters that are found around the house during the murders imply that the deaths are caused by a witch, but Battler tries to find a more reasonable answer. When none of the residents come home from the family conference, a message is found in a bottle weeks later, laying out two different versions of events where a witch, reborn, took the family's lives as sacrifices. But magic isn't real, right? In the summary for this talk, I stated that Umineko never supplies explicit answers, which isn't true. It answers a lot of things about the story and the murders that take place. However, the story avoids answering certain questions when those answers will reveal a narrative truth. Umineko comes in two packages, the question arc and the answer arc. The question arc sets up the mystery, and the answer arc provides you with the tools to solve the questions that have been supplied. The question arc provides you with all the information you need to figure everything out, but without context, it is nearly impossible. Once you've read the answer arc as well, you have all the information you need to solve each and every mystery that the story has provided you. That is, if you have the drive and desire to go back for it. It is this invitation that made me realize that Umineko, while having very few instances of player interactivity, is very interactive, as long as you, the reader, are willing to play along. And this is an aspect of the mystery novels that Umineko seeks to emulate. Interactivity has been key to the genre for over a century. On Umineko, I want to open with this quote. It should be possible for perceptive readers to work out the solution for themselves. For many, this is the whole attraction of the genre. By Rosemary Rowe in Writing Crime Fiction, the Creative Writing Masterclass, published in 2014. Umineko is a classic whodunit mystery story with a twist. The goal is to prove how the murders were done without magic, which I guess makes it a howdunit. It's actually a real genre thing. The prose of the novel frames the murders in a magical light, so Battler and the reader are charged with disbelieving the impossible. Battler does so by relying on the facts of the scene, struggling to pin a murder on a stranger rather than someone in the family. I read Umineko for the first time over live stream with my wife, as we have spent most of our relationship long distance. I grew up reading fantasy, light horror, and sci-fi with a bit of non-genre fiction thrown in. My wife reads anything they can get their hands on, and it wasn't their first time reading Umineko. When we finished episode 1, they asked me, "Who do you think the culprit was?" And I said, it was obviously a witch. I was not experienced in mystery novels. Most of my exposure was, and probably still is, through police procedurals, which take you along a dramatic story rather than necessarily guiding you to solve a crime for yourself. I realized what was intended late into the story when it became obvious that Umineko would not tell me the answers for anything explicitly. No detective sits us down and explains everything at the end. If I really wanted to know the truth, I would need to figure it out myself as the reader. So Umineko brought me down a rabbit hole of changing what I thought mystery novels were, and in the process I learned a lot about game development. I'm not nearly as much of a mystery fan as I am an avid consumer of narrative games and visual novels. I want to share with you my observations and research on how mysteries often construct themselves as puzzles for the reader to solve, how mystery writers conceptualize their ideas with reader interactivity in mind, and how Umineko exists as something both interactive and linear, with minimal instances of input and feedback in the tradition of mystery novels that came before. Part of the attraction of the story is the satisfaction in solving the mystery. The importance of this differs with the individual reader. Some follow the clues assiduously, and at the end feel the same small triumph that they do after a successful game of chess. P.D. James talking about detective fiction in 2009. In Agatha Christie's 1939 novel, And Then There Were None, a group of strangers are invited to a mansion on an island off the coast of England. Unable to leave, each is killed according to the verses of a nursery rhyme hung in every room. When everyone is dead, the only proof of events is a confession sent to sea in a bottle, written by the murderer. Umineko is a pastiche of And Then There Were None, complete with a confession in a bottle. However, in Umineko, the bottle comes with 2 versions of events, immediately obfuscating the truth. And while the truth may be hard to find, it is available, and Umineko respects the rules laid down by writers of the golden age of detective fiction. The golden age is understood to be the 1920s and 1930s, when Christie was actively publishing alongside with other mystery juggernauts such as Ellery Queen and Dorothy L. Sayers. This era popularized the whodunit, which was regarded as a puzzle. An author and Catholic priest, Ronald Knox, codified a set of rules known as Knox's Decalogue, or Knox's 10 Commandments, in the writing of detective fiction. Let's go over them. The criminal must be mentioned in the early part of the story, but must not be anyone whose thoughts the reader has been allowed to know. 2. All supernatural or preternatural agencies are ruled out as a matter of course. 3. Not more than one secret room or passage is allowable. 4. No hitherto undiscovered poisons may be used, nor any appliance which would need a long scientific explanation at the end. 5. 6. No accident must ever help the detective, nor must he ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. 7. The detective himself must not commit the crime. 8. The detective is bound to declare any clues which he may discover. 9. The sidekick of the detective, the Watson, must not conceal from the reader any thoughts which pass through his mind. His intelligence must be slightly, but very slightly below that of the average reader. Maybe this is Battler? 10. Twins and doubles generally must not appear unless we have been duly prepared for them. Knox's Decalogue is mostly accepted by mystery writers, although novelists will take the opportunities to subvert them with relish, of course. In laying out a set of rules to ensure a relationship of trust between writer and reader, you establish trust so the writer can lay out a puzzle for the reader. And it is a puzzle. A puzzle story is one where the mystery to be solved is just as, if not more, important than the characters and the narrative taking place around it. Some writers have, in the past, have even left the mystery unsolved and invited readers to mail in their own solutions. This concept is something that was folded into mystery novels during the Golden Age and remains in the genre to this day. In Japan, mystery novels that follow the rules of trust are called honkaku, or orthodox mysteries. It's a genre that, above all, promises fair play. Umineko definitely deserves to be in this category. Through establishing rules and laying down the groundwork of an agreement of fairness between the writer and the reader, mystery novels proceed to lay out a puzzle for the reader to solve. Never forget that a book is an interactive medium. The relationship between writer and reader may develop and change, but it never disappears. And a skillful writer will be constantly aware of the effect that their words have on the reader at any given point in the action. That's what storytelling is about. Simon Brett, Controlling the Flow of Information, Now Write Mysteries, 2011. Umineko is staunchly a visual novel, rather than a game. It lays out a linear story before you, with the added flair of art, music, and sound effects. There are also menus where you can review key concept, a list of characters, and the details of their deaths when applicable to assist you in solving the mystery. In addition to Knox's Decalogue, Umineko has a set of its own rules. In each episode of the question arcs, you are given a new version of events that result in the deaths of the Ushirimiya family. Meanwhile, there's an outside meta-narrative, where the witch, Beatrice, tries to show Battler that events couldn't have been possible for a regular human. Beatrice names the world of the days on Rokenjima as the game board, and the Battler that remains in the story as a piece on the board. She challenges Battler for a logical explanation for the murders, which he declares unfair, so they agree on a set of terms to confirm or deny certain events. This is a red truth, where the text that Beatrice commits to fact is red instead of white. It can be said that Knox's Decalogue is an inherent red truth in which the story is built. The red truth helps build a structure where the mystery can be sussed out. Its use is as revealing as its phrasing, and the times when Beatrice refuses to use it. Everything is carefully laid out before you, but Umineko never asks you who the culprit was, and it never confirms if you're right or wrong. If you want answers, you have to solve the puzzle of who, what, where, when, and how. In order to get the full story in this linear narrative, you have to commit to playing it as a game. Or, of course, you can choose not to. The truth only becomes clear to sharp-eyed readers near the end of this 100 or so hour journey, and everything before it becomes clear in sharp relief. The whodunit becomes clear after we know the motive. The mysteries are arranged as puzzles to guide the readers and Battler to the truth, to the why. The puzzles in Umineko serve the narrative, and by that point, the lack of explicit answers are to serve the puzzle. It's a very interesting, albeit long, display of excellent logic design. This concept occurred to me when I was putting together a list of recommendations for visual novels, and conceptualized a list based on the amount of interactivity for most to least. Most interactivity for a visual novel being an adventure game, such as Read-Only Memories, and the least interactivity being a linear story in visual novels, such as The House of Fata Morgana. I put the list together in this order to serve as a potential gateway drug for friends who I worried wouldn't be interested in a game that had no input and response. When putting Umineko on this list, it was originally at the very end in linear, non-interactive territory. That is, until the amount of problem-solving occurred to me. A completely invested reader is not consuming the story without interactivity. An invested reader is taking notes, verifying information, doubting testimony, and trying to solve a problem that the story itself won't shed light on. A mystery reader is trying to stay ahead of the story that the writer is laying down to predict and anticipate the answers. I find it fascinating that for decades, linear mystery novels have been engaging in this interactivity between reader and writer, lining up the information so that the reader can experience the satisfaction of figuring out the solution. The idea that a story can be completely linear and non-responsive in a mechanical sense can operate as a game purely on the motivation of a player's commitment to play is incredible. There's a lot that we can learn by studying things across genre or across medium like this, and I think countless incredible things can be made with the love of these cross-concept passions. Thank you so much for tuning in for my talk on Umineko and linear whodunits as games. I hope you liked it. I'll be around for Q&A, internet permitting, in just a moment. I currently work with Crazy Maple Studio writing chapters, interactive stories, and I have a credit on as a writer on Love on the Peacock Express, and I've been working on my own visual novel dating sim called Patria about rape culture. So if you want to look that up, keep in mind that, you know, all trigger warnings apply. I wanted to add a very special thanks to Nick Ramey and Bruce Dello, who helped me workshop this script for this talk, and thank you to Duo, my best friend and Kat, who passed away earlier this month. He was 20 years old, but he's gotten me through a lot, and I miss him terribly. But God, he lived forever, and he was really spoiled. So, rest in peace, buddy. I love you. In addition, I want to thank NarraScope for having me. This is, well, it's not my first public talk, but this is my first time feeling like a real professional and doing a talk on something that I care a lot about. So I wanted to say thank you very much. Please find me at playerprofit.com or with that username wherever you get your social media. I'll be available in the NarraScope Discord chat to talk more. Please talk to me about Umineko. Too much is never enough.